Hey, you're hanging out in the Link Up Lounge. I'm Tiffany Mason.
And I'm Donna Ruppel. Around here, we believe success isn't just about what you know, it's about who you link up with. This is your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Donna, it blows my mind that the two of us have over 30 years of combined networking experience.
I know! We've built businesses, expanded networks, and created unstoppable momentum, all through the power of strategic connections.
AKA networking. And now we're here to guide you to do the same, starting today.
So let's dive in, connect, and start making moves you didn't even know were possible.
Welcome back to the Link Up Lounge. I'm Tiffany Mason with Virtually You, the boutique podcast management agency, and Donna Ruppel, your Nocatee real estate expert.
This is your space to turn one link into endless opportunities. And today we're talking about one of the most underrated ways to stay top of mind, your email list.
Yay!
Yay! Staying connected doesn't end after the handshake, right? That's where email marketing shines.
Right. But it's not about flooding the inboxes. It's about building trust and one helpful message at a time, because this is where we follow up and really start to build those relationships.
Yes. Today, we're going to show you how simple, thoughtful emails can keep you not only top of mind with your network, grow real relationships, like Tiffany just said, but also provide value, which makes you valuable.
Yes. And that is actually the point I want to make. So let's start here. Email is one of the most personal ways to connect. It lands directly in someone's space without them relying on some crazy algorithm that's not our friend anyway. And it provides value. I mean, that is the one thing that I was always taught in marketing or building relationships, networking, is that you can't. We talked about takers, how they show up and they're always constantly, they got a pitch, they're saying something about their business, whatever. If that's all the email is, they're not going to be opened. So you have to start providing value of some extent. And also they cannot be like these novels about what's been going on in your business and all these things. It's gotta kind of be quick and to the point. Like our attention span is comically small now.
Right.
Thank you, social media.
Right. Yes. And, one thing I will say is, I think along the lines of what you're talking about, I read a book years back and it was called Jab, Jab, Right Hook. And it's about how to tell your story in a noisy social world, but it's also about what you just said. It's value, value, pitch, or, value, 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 pitch, whatever. The idea is, what you just said of you can't constantly be pitching because that's the message of the taker, right?
You've it's a big turn off.
Right? You got to provide value or people are just going to unsubscribe and tune you out. One thing that I love about email marketing or an email campaign is that it is so minimally intrusive into somebody's world.
Yes.
So another thing I was taught years ago was to think about what kind of message are you trying to deliver and then what priority level of intrusiveness are you going for? So in other words, we have email marketing, we have social media, we have direct messaging through social media, and we have text messages and we have phone calls, right? And I guess, you also have that old fashioned snail mail, but I don't know how many people are really doing that anymore. So, you have all those things. And so the question is, how warm is your lead? How soon are you going to do business with the person? How important is your message and how intrusive do you want to be? So, we all know that a text message, I think it's something like 98% of text messages get read in 3 minutes. But how annoyed do you get on a text message that is nothing you want to hear about or care about right now? Right.
Ugh.
And then it gets forgotten in a flash because we delete it or we just move on, so email marketing is great because it's not very intrusive. It can deliver a message of value. The person can read it at their leisure. And, it's not something that's in their face. It's going to piss them off where they just unsubscribe and turn you off really fast. If you're doing all the things that we're going to talk about. So it builds over time, this relationship, this value add, they start to see your face repeatedly, because a consistent email presence keeps you from being out of sight, out of mind. And based on your industry, based on your offering, determines your frequency of how much you should email.
Well, and I think that you brought it up in our meeting when you were talking about your business, because you had the business spotlight. So you were telling us, what a realtor does. And you were talking about the value of you just kind of staying top of mind with someone you've done business with or a potential client. And they say, wow, this realtor has touched base with me for 2 years and she's never forgotten about me and she's always reached out. And I guess maybe I should just give her a chance to sell this house or a chance to have a conversation about it, because she's already shown her dedication to me. And right, they know that you're not only emailing them. I'm sure that they know that it's on some kind of automation. But regardless, you took the time to set it up. You took the time to say, okay, here are some tips for living in Florida in the heat, right? Like, it's not just about selling a house and let me sell your house. Let me help you buy a house. Let me sell your house. Let me help you buy a house, right? Like, you guys you're having other conversations with these people that makes it so much more enjoyable. I know from a realtor, something that was sent to me was tips about paint color in the rooms. And I kept that email, I think, for like 6 months. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I want to go back and I really want to go and see what this person actually said, and after like 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm clearly not painting a room. I will delete the email now. But there's a tip that I've learned about email recently. And this is going to sound archaic to most of you listeners. It's okay if you guys roll your eyes at me, but it's effective to print out emails that have valuable information. And then I have a safekeeping for these things. And then on Sundays, I go through them and I go, okay, now I have the time to devote my attention to what this person said. And sometimes it's a book recommendation, or maybe it's a recipe, or maybe it is perfect colors for your house in Florida in August, whatever the topic is. But I love those kind of emails. So I will even stay subscribed to an email I don't want to be a part of when I know that they have industry information. So I know we have talked about in prior episodes, you didn't know if you wanted to follow other realtors or have them following you on social media. I personally always I wanted to know other podcast managers and know what they were doing and what is, going on in the industry. But how great is it to have that content at your fingertips and be able to relate back to it? I think it goes back to value, sell, having it available.
Yeah. And just like with the value component that you were talking about, because that email about paint colors was valuable to you, you kept it for 6 months. If it was a pitch or them selling something, you would have deleted it if you even opened it, right?
And I wouldn't have printed it either.
Right. I was going to say, the ones you print out are probably the only ones that are real value driven. And
that's true.
You remembered, that person provided value. So just like you were saying about, you might follow somebody even though you don't necessarily want their product or services because their emails are valuable. And I was just going to add that, there was another real estate agent that sent out email marketing, and obviously I'm not going to use her, but her content was so valuable that it was like telling me what was happening in my area over the next month, or telling me seasonal tips. And I was like, oh, I like this. Okay. So I enjoyed staying on her email marketing campaign list, whatever, for as long as I did. She probably eventually took me off because I'm not getting them anymore, but they always valuable to me personally. And so that's why I stayed subscribed to her. But again, it all goes back to the value, and my husband is an intellectual property attorney. And so most people are not making that kind of decision on a daily basis, right? That's more of a, if this applies to you kind of thing. So his email campaign is set up to go once a month, which is plenty of time. And it drips for over 2.5 years because, again, the decision-making on that particular industry is what it is. Now, if you're selling candles...
Donna, I think it would be beneficial for people who are listening that don't do email marketing. They may not understand what dripping means. Do you want to talk about that really quick?
Oh, yeah. So in this day and age, with the use of technology that we have, there are a bunch of different platforms where you can schedule what we like to call a campaign, which is a series of emails to be delivered over time. And so when people get put into your campaign, the platform is going to automatically drip or send these emails once a month, in the example of my husband. Or if you're selling candles and you want to hit people up every week, you can do that. And you set the timeline on when those go out. You set the timeline on how often, the frequency. And so when you add somebody to the list, it's just automatically dripping these emails out to them. And it could be anything from they came to an event and therefore they got entered into your follow up, to they were a past customer and they got entered into your follow up. And you might have, you likely would have different email campaigns for each category of customer that you have, like potential leads versus existing customers versus past customers.
Right.
Do so much with it. And of course, there's service providers out there that will do it for you for, an amount of money, or you can set them up yourself. There's plenty of platforms that you can use yourself to create these email campaigns.
Yes, and I think it would be valuable in our show notes. Maybe we will put 2 sources that we would advise as far as if you wanted to set up some kind of email campaign, if this is a new concept for you. I think that Donna and I value email marketing so much and automation so much. We in Bond and Beyond have a speaker 3 times a year. We have someone come speak to our groups, and we actually had an automation specialist come out and talk to everybody just about how you could set it up, the different varieties of it. And I love what you're saying, Donna, how you would maybe have a campaign for different types of people that you'd be reaching out to. So potential customers, current customers, past customers. I think that is super smart that you would set it up in different ways. And now the email systems are so smart that you can segment it that way. You can say, okay, I'm at these 5 people at an event and these guys are all potential. So they kind of get like tagged or segmented as being potential clients or potential customers. And then you can do the same thing with other people that are in that database. So it's very valuable that way.
Yes. Just like you were saying, I have a category of open house leads. If I meet you in an open house, you're going to go into this email campaign. If you are an out of state lead, I'm going to still send you tons of value because I would love a referral, right? Whether you're in state or out of state, I can refer you to somebody in your state, or maybe you have a friend that's moving to Florida and you want to refer them to me. So I have a whole out of state list. There's so many different things you can do with email marketing, and all of these platforms that exist also show you the metrics of how many people are opening them, how many people are unsubscribing from them, and that's great feedback too. Keep in mind, like you were talking about the difference numbers in, podcast downloads versus social media. It's kind of the same thing, keeping your expectations in the right level for email marketing. They say that if 5% get open, that's really good. So, just keep that in mind. We live in a noisy world. And one thing that we were talking about, value, and that's why people open your email. One thing, I am on an email list from a woman that does various like health related stuff. And I absolutely love how in the section that is, it's not the subject line, but it must be the preview line. It says, this is a 2-minute read. This is a 3-minute read. I love that because then I know I'm not opening a novel. This is going to take me 2 minutes to read through this and I'm done. Okay. And then I open her emails probably more than anybody else because she tells me that. Yeah, I love that.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, there are some other ways that we can use emails and not feel salesy, because that's another thing, right? Every time we're doing any of these things, we could either lean towards feeling salesy or we could lean towards feeling networky. So how do we feel networky? Is that a word?
We can make it a word. Yes. Networking is good.
Okay. So you could share a quick win or an insight. And I know I've done that before, saying a tactic that I've used and how it affected my download numbers or how it affected my editing process. I've sent that out to people who currently have podcasts. You can highlight someone else, what they're doing in the network. I like to lots of times highlight other industry experts. So maybe I'll send out an email and say, hey, just so you guys know that there is a new, when you submit your podcast to Apple or to Spotify, really to everybody, there are LUFTs. It's a measurement. It's like your volume, like decibels on your volume. Anyway, the podcast platforms will highlight or quote unquote algorithmically promote the ones that are in the right audio level. Okay. So there was a podcast that I was listening to, and it was sharing this tool that you can use. And this has been really difficult for people to figure out in the past. Well, I just typed up a little email, sent it out to my people, and said, hey, if you guys are wondering if your audio is in the right LUFT level, you can use this tool and, submit your podcast and know that they will honor it more because it's in the right LUFT level. So that would be a way to highlight somebody else in the network, share a quick win or quick tip. The next one is a book from someone that I've interviewed on my podcast, someone that the episode pertains to them in the email, or a blog to check out. In the past, I have created blogs, the 5 tips that every podcaster needs to know, the 3 things that you want to avoid on every episode when you're recording, those kinds of things, where people go, ooh, yeah, I want to know what's a quick tip that I could get from that. So I'll put my blog in there. Sometimes I'll put somebody else's blog entry in there. I'll pull a clip from another episode that I was listening to that was really great, and I'll throw that in my emails to my clients. There's lots of different ways that you can add value to people besides just giving facts, I suppose. Like I'm saying, by the blog or by sharing other episodes. And then just by inviting people to reply, like, hey, you're getting this. How is this making you feel? What experience have you had? Start a 2-way conversation. How can you get engagement on these emails that you're sending out?
Yes. So you can send so many different types of content. I think the basic level of value add might be a newsletter, like a monthly newsletter. If you are somebody that this is a new concept to, or you're just trying to get started, I would think about it in an idea of a monthly newsletter, right? Because that's only once a month, obviously. And a newsletter is full of value, not any kind of pitch, right? Personal updates, like you said, or just at the top, it could be a 1-line note saying, I thought of you when I saw this. And then it's some value add that's consistent with your industry, but it doesn't have to be from your business, So just along the lines of what you said.
Well, and I think also take the pressure off yourself a little bit. Like, these do not have to be super fancy. Of course you want to stay on brand. You want to, be using buzzwords from your industry, those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, it just has to be genuine, right? Although I do love me a GIF in an email. Okay.
I know you do. You do.
So this is something I really want to start infusing into my personal email marketing a little bit more. It's just throwing a GIF on there. That nothing is more fun than when you open the email and it's like doing something at you. I was listening to an episode that I was editing, and they were talking about how video is so important and everybody loves video and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, no. When I open an email and there's a video there to greet me, a little GIF, like, I'm all about it. And welcome me. Be excited with me.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny.
They don't have to be fancy, though.
I'm game for a GIF. I am. I will say, when I open an email and there's a video, I 99% of the time do not watch the video. I will say that, because
I think a GIF will just play on its own. I don't have to hit play. Forced.
Yeah, I love a GIF. But when you were saying you were listening to something and they were talking about the importance of video, I will say that 99.9% of the time when I'm looking at my phone,
either.
And I'm flipping through something, my volume is off.
Yep.
And so unless the words are popping up on the bottom like subtitles,
Right.
I have no idea what a video is saying, because I'm not going to turn on my volume, because I'm typically in a place where maybe I don't want to have my volume on, and they don't need to know what I'm watching.
Yeah, I would say in my industry with podcasting, that may be the only time that you would include like either a video episode or an actual episode, because we are used to long form content. So we would we would identify it. Okay, that's a podcast. I'm going to listen to it, whatever. But I think that you are right. For the general public, no videos. GIFs, great. Quotes, great. A link, great. A video, I wouldn't do it.
Well, and when somebody's opening their email, they're typically either, let's be real, at the office, and they're going through their emails, or they might be on their phone, but they're typically in like some sort of waiting room or something like that. I mean, email is not something that is necessarily
We're not
a
expecting
priority.
audio.
Right. And so it's something done in the background on the waiting room or in the car waiting for your kid to come out, or it's done at the office when you're just trying to like
While you're
have some
driving, I
coffee.
feel like a lot of people are checking their email while they're driving. Oh, that's not a good time. No, we shouldn't do that.
No, don't do that. I was like, oh my God, I meant waiting in
Okay,
car
we are
line or something
not-
like that when you're
yeah.
not supposed to do that.
Yeah. Not while driving
Don't do
cars,
that.
people. Put the phones down.
Right? For real. So yeah. So anyway, when it comes to email marketing, if you have email marketing in place, take a look at it. Are you doing the jab, 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 punch thing, like the book said? Are you doing value, 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 right? Or is it just pitch, pitch, pitch? So if you have current email marketing, evaluate it, look at it. If you don't have any email marketing at all, and you're like, oh my God, this is making my head explode just thinking about it. Okay. Then you don't have to be fancy. You don't have to get a platform. Just, think about, am I able to do a monthly newsletter? Start with a list of 10 people, network that's worth nurturing, hot leads, warm leads, past clients. That is a place of nurturing. In the real estate world, I will say, you do a good job for somebody, that is a person you want to nurture for the next 3 to 5 years, right? Because they are going to sing your praises. They've experienced your service. They've experienced your expertise. They're going to sing your praises to everybody they know, like, and trust, as long as you continue to follow up with them. I just would say start where you're at.
Well, and you're saying start where you're at. And if you're feeling like 10 is a great start, but you want to build that list, you can continue networking. That's great. You could also have a lead magnet. So I think that's maybe a valuable topic for another episode for us, would be a lead magnet. A lead magnet is, you guys, we gave you that list that you guys can make your power statement. That's a lead magnet. That's a way to get somebody's email. Yes, we want your email. We want to continue to engage with you guys. We want to continue to give you guys value. And so that's how we intend to do it. So if you're like, oh, that's a lead magnet, what would be valuable in your industry? So in my industry, I have a lead magnet that is the 10 things you want to think about before you start a podcast. There's different ways that you can give value, and you have to think like, what would I provide that somebody would give me their email address in exchange for this item, right? So I'm giving them this 10-point list of things that they would want to think about before starting their podcast, because when somebody comes to me, it's also beneficial that they've already thought those 10 things through. Hopefully they've downloaded it, they've thought it through. And when they reach out to me and make a phone call with me, now we're ready to have a more in-depth conversation about their podcast or starting a podcast.
Yes. And lead magnets definitely will be another episode, because that is a great tie-in to email marketing. When you think about who am I going to even have a list to email, that is a great way to find out who out there in our big, broad world is interested in your services. And a lead magnet is a great way to start sifting through that. Okay. So I think it's time to flip the switch. It's networking mode on. This week, send a personal check-in email to 3 past connections. No pitch, no ask, just a simple, hey, how are you? I was thinking about you. You never know what that message could lead to. Networking mode on.
If you're enjoying the Link Up Lounge, it would mean the world to us if you left a quick review. Let us know what you've been learning, what you've been enjoying. It helps us to keep bringing you more connection building goodness.
You've been hanging out in the Link Up Lounge, your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Now it's your turn. Go make a powerful link today.
Networking mode on.